Now?
Okay, recording has started, yes.
All right, okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Ali, Huda, Ranjini, Shahira, and Jennifer. So, welcome to our book club session, virtual book club session. We're reading Kevin Powers' The Yellow Bird. So, we are going to begin by looking at your choice of focus. What is it that you are interested in when you read this book? I know some of you have said to me personally that you didn't enjoy reading this book so much, but there might be things that caught your attention. In every story, there might be something there that kind of drew you in. It could be something a character said. It could be what is described in the narration. It could be a particular repetition of symbol, various things. Yeah, it could be different things for different people. So we're going to begin with Ranjini's take on The Yellow Bird. Ranjini, take it away.
Okay, I'll start with a very short review. I started reading The Yellow Birds right after finishing The Pride and Prejudice.
Okay,
And
cool.
seriously, it was such a shock to my system because after reading Pride and Prejudice, which was like very breezy and fun kind of read, right? Suddenly to be confronted with brutality and death, it was so depressing.
So you
And
went
then
from romance to tragedy in like that, in a snap.
exactly, it was so gory with death and everything. Is like I feel like it was such a shock to my system. Yeah, the corpse wash is not as severe as the yellow birds, where the most intense one I can think of is about the head. The washing process of the head. But for the yellow bird, it was full of gory and brutal death with eyes being gouged out, blood oozing everywhere. So it kind of I don't know how to describe, kind of made me very aware of the text.
Mm,
And then it moves from present to past, like kind of a fragmented non-linear structure.
right,
But
right.
in yellowbird it was quite clear, probably because we already given the deadline, which was
Mm,
already mapped out, where we can really find ourselves following. With
mm,
compared to corpse washer, it was a bit choppy because we didn't really given a definite timeline.
mm,
One thing I would like to highlight is the first page itself.
mm,
The same with Pride and Prejudice. There's a hook at the first page, first sentences, the first paragraph, which is
mm,
same with the yellow bird as well. So
mm.
the first page, the first paragraph. The war tried to kill us in the spring, as grass greened the plains of, I don't know how to pronounce this, Nineveh, and the weather warmed. We
Mm,
patrolled the low slung hills beyond the cities and towns. We moved over them and through the tall grass of on faith, kneading paths into the windswept growth like pioneers.
mm,
While we slept, the war rubbed its thousand ribs against the ground in prayer. When we pressed onward through exhaustion, its eyes were wide and open in the dark.
mm,
While we ate, the war fasted, fed by its own deprivation. It made love and gave birth and spread through fire.
mm.
I loved it. I really love this. It's like the writer kind of personified death, I guess. And then it's just that the language was so poetic and I loved it. The first sentence itself, it's
Mm,
like a hook.
mm,
But as I keep reading the novel, I find myself drifting off a lot.
mm,
Probably because I feel like there's something like too much descriptive words, where there's like scenes that they almost the half page is used to describe a scene. And
right.
furthermore, I just couldn't connect with the rambling thoughts of the lead character Butter. Probably that's work to point to us that this is how the soldier's mind work or something like that, but I just couldn't connect.
Right.
I did sympathize with the characters and able to connect to certain scenes, but unfortunately, I couldn't connect to the character Batal as a whole. Although
Mm,
the novel uses first-person narrative, right? But
yeah.
Batal as a character felt very impersonal to me. I connected better with Jawad, and I wanted the best outcome for Jawad. But
Right.
for Batal, I'm not really bothered, I guess, for his outcome, and I really don't know why. I just couldn't connect with Batal.
Mm,
And it had sense of mystery where we already foreshadowed. We know Murphy died, but then we don't know under which circumstances. So it was quite interesting, and then which made us like keep guessing where is the novel heading to. And But ultimately, I did not enjoy the book, and it's probably because of me and my style. But among these two novels, the thing that I pick up that seems a kind of a point of convergence, I would say, is that PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that they both dealt with. I was researching about PTSD for my other presentation, and then I realized that both Jawad and Batal had experienced this, what do you call that? The same thing, the post-traumatic stress disorder because of the war. That's the only thing that clicked to me, that I feel like both of the both of these converge together. And as for the textual, it's basically only the first sentence that really hooked me. Otherwise, not much, unfortunately. Sorry. Yeah.
You talked about the personification at the opening paragraphs. It's the personification of war, right?
Yes.
Does anybody else want to say something about this? Did anyone else choose this this section of the story?
I did for chapter 1, the first paragraph as well. But I think the whole book is impersonal, like how John Bartle described the war, I just think his description of the war is such an impersonal thing, and it's like he's not really interested in the human responsibility to the war, like how they just shoot at things, especially at the car with the old lady.
Yep.
I thought that was so irresponsible.
Yeah. It kind of made me, I mean, we were discussing last week, right? When I think Huda shared about her experience.
Yes.
When I was reading this particular scene, I was like connected to whatever Huda said, which made me kind of sad, because it was sad. Yeah.
So it's almost like you have a sense of what's going on now because you've got a first-hand experience from Huda and Ali.
Yeah.
Now your horizon of expectation as a reader, in your mind, you don't just look at it as a third person. You are also empathetic in terms of what's happening to the people on the ground, the civilians, right? And you are looking at it as if I was the civilian and this is how the soldiers are behaving, to quote Shahira's word, irresponsibly, right, in a very impersonal manner, you see the context of war from a very different perspective. Do you not?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Ranjini, I wanted to make a distinction because you said the first paragraph personified death.
Oh, sorry, personified war. I think I was.
War.
Yeah. War. Yes.
Right.
I think the
Right.
whole, not only that particular paragraph, the whole page of it was, war personified. It gives us kind of a like scary feeling, like something kind of a monster looking.
Yeah.
But then yet the text felt very impersonal to me. I don't know why. Yeah.
I mean, you're right. The first couple of paragraphs, first 3 paragraphs, that's the thing that drew me too. It's like, so who is war? We are the people who, we meaning humanity, we participate in war, but the way war is positioned in the opening paragraphs of the story, especially the first page, it's almost like war has a mind of its own. War has, war, it says here, I find it very quaint, the line that you read just now. While we ate, the war fasted and fed by its own deprivation. Like what is he trying to suggest? What is war in this case? Who is war? So that bit, you're right about the hook. Does anybody have anything to say to what Ranjini has introduced us to?
If you don't mind, Doctor.
Yes. Go ahead.
You know, as if he was thinking loudly. He is he's talking with himself. You know, they are young people. They came to serve the country. They thought that the Iraq is the enemy, so and so. That's why he said that in one of the chapters, we did the violence. We are the violent. We did the violence. It is not necessarily that we kill those people or
Right.
we shoot them over and over, as if, you know, um, there is a fine line between a criminal and a victim. So they came, but during the war, this limited, this melted, will be melted because it is horrible. War is horrible. It is, he said that it is fasting. Yes, war fed on our fear, angry, and even our desire to survive. And they are just young boys,
Yep.
young men. They came as if, you know, after 11 September, there is the propaganda, American propaganda. This is the enemy. We have to fight them. We have to go to their on land, their stronghold, and do so and so. So they came and they were full of expectation, potentials to serve their country, to mourn those who were left, you know, who were died in 11 September, as if we are the enemy. So they came here and they said they are the enemy. They do so and so. Their humanity become to deteriorated until they can't even bear what they have done to people. Because they are civil people. They are not soldiers face to face. Just civil people. And you can see, Doctor, in many scenes, old woman, she was shouting, they shoot her husband, and she was living in her white sheet, but they killed her, even though. That one who survived of the bombing and shooting and so and so. Even Bartel, he tried to say, congratulations, you did it. But so that someone of his you know, his company killed him.
Yeah.
So he can't bear what is, as if he is bumbling with himself. He is losing his humanity. I think so, Doctor.
I completely agree with you. I have a question, but I want to save it for after your session, after you've shared your thoughts on the book. So I'll save that for later. Okay, thank you so much. So we'll go to Jennifer for your sharing session.
Doctor, can I add one more thing?
Please do.
Another thing I realize is that what's the purpose of war? Some people say that it's necessary evil, right? But then if you read throughout the novel, there's like no mention of them. Why are they going to war? Why these young boys choose to, enlist in military service? There's only one brief mention about the service of the nation, but I feel like the true purpose of the war that they're joining is not clear. As if like they're just young boys who don't know what to do, so they're joining war. But then the true purpose of them doing it for the nation is not really, obvious. Which made me think that they are just joining war because it's kind of a better opportunity compared to other stuff that they might be doing outside. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So this bit that I'm going to share. I can't get it, sorry. Yeah, no, I wanted to illustrate a point, and I agree with you, Ranjini. I agree with what you were saying, that it's they are trying to rationalize it for themselves without understanding what exactly they are rationalizing, if you like. So the purpose of war seems very distant in their mind. They are trying to kind of make it sound as if it makes sense and they agree with what they are being told. So I just want to kind of get you all to think about it as you're doing your presentation, as you're sharing this. So you're talking about the text, yeah? So you are identifying aspects of the text. Now, Ranjini started off by saying, you know, she went from reading Pride and Prejudice to reading The Yellow Bird, you know, which
It's
is
a shock.
it's a shock to the system. It's like going from the sauna into the ice, pool of ice water. It's like, what's going on? You know, it's everything nice and hot and warm, and then suddenly it's like, oh my God, what happened? You know, I want you to kind of keep it the back of your mind. Who wrote this story? You know, who is sharing this story, and to what extent is this story being told to as a propaganda? To what extent is it being told as a purging of all the things that was experienced by this young soldier who was foolhardy and joined, you know, and enlisted himself for all the wrong reasons, perhaps, you know? So to what extent is this writing, is this, you know, a literary piece, a kind of an explanation, a kind of asking for forgiveness even, you know what I mean? So I want you to kind of always remember that as you're reading, because in the reading of the text, we always have to keep in mind that the writer is trying to make certain suggestions. The writer is trying to the writer is trying to tell us something, you know, something more than what the story is telling. So if you remember what I shared with Pierre Machere's point when he talked about what is absence. You know, the absence in the text is as important as what is present. And the text comes to us incomplete, he says. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. So we need to be mindful that the writer knows to an extent that he is telling us all these things, right? That there is this kind of a rampage going on in the way civilians are being killed, right? But the writer is also doing it for a purpose. We need to kind of ask ourselves, based on what is being given to us in the story, what do we suppose is the purpose? What is this story really trying to say or do, or you know what I mean? Are you following me?
Yes, I'm following.
Yeah. So I just want us to kind of keep that in the back of your mind, so that you can participate in the reading with a bit more clarity, with a bit more kind of you know, engagement. So are you seeing what I'm drawing on the screen right now?
No.
Oh.
No,
You
doctor.
can see the whiteboard, but it's still plain.
It's right.
It's blank.
Yeah, it's blank.
That's the word.
But you see the whiteboard, yeah?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
What about now?
Not
Still
yet.
the same, doctor.
Nothing?
Still blank.
Just the whiteboard.
Just the whiteboard. No, the drawing, nothing?
Nothing.
No.
No.
Okay, never mind. I'm trying to see whether I can get you to... Still nothing, huh?
No.
The same. Yes, etc.
All right, never mind. Okay, moving on. Yeah, so I want you to kind of like, if you could take a piece of paper yourself and draw in the center, draw a small circle in the center. And in that circle, identify the things that drew your attention to the text. So in this case, the elements of death, the purposelessness of this war, or the rampage killing that goes on, or the mindless, irresponsible acts of violence that is being portrayed. Whatever it is that drew your attention. So that is basically the point of entrance for you into the story. Okay, are you all following me so far?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, so that will be your inner circle. Then draw a bigger circle around that. And then ask yourself these kinds of questions that helps you probe, why is the writer doing this? What's the purpose? Why is the writer showing us these things, these images? What's the real artistic reason or purpose or you know what I mean? What is the writer trying to get us to consider or think about? I just want to kind of give you that opportunity to explore the reading, not just from a very close textual perspective, but also have a kind of a bigger picture mindset. What's the bigger picture that is being drawn based on these depictions, these fragmented depictions, this purposeless killing, this tragedy, these deaths, these acts of violence? Are you following me so far?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, so that's what I would like you all to kind of do as we continue with this discussion. Okay? All right, Ranjini, okay?
Yes, doctor.
All right, so we'll move on to Jennifer. Jennifer's been very quiet. Is she still in?
Yeah, I am here, Doctor. Can you hear me?
She's the princess.
Hello.
Yes, the princess.
So,
Okay, go ahead.
okay.
It's all yours.
Look at chapter 1 first. But this is when Malik was killed, and then the conversation between Bartle and Merv. They mention the. Okay, so I'll just read out the text. Doesn't count, does it? Merv asked. No, I don't think so. Where are we at? 968, 970. We'll have to check the paper when we get back. So, okay, another one I would like to add on is in chapter 2, when they talk to Sarge, particularly people are going to die. He said flatly, it's statistics. Then he got up and left the room. So technically, from these first 2 chapters, I can see how they treated the death as part of numbers and statistics. So it was different from the corpse washer because they treated in the corpse washer, they treated the death as though it still has a soul, and even though they're dead, you treat it properly. But then in the yellow bird, they are not. They are numbers, and until the further back end, there's another chapter saying one of the doctors passed away, and then there was a head count. So I would like to add on is coming back to what we have discussed. Actually, for me, these 2 books are why the author write them. To me, is just having a sense of closure. For the corpse washer, he's looking from a view of a civilian. He is a resident there. And from the yellow bird, I bear in mind that they are soldiers. Soldiers take orders.
Yeah.
They follow whatever is told. And their acts are cruel, but it is wrong. It is definitely wrong to shoot people, but they have to survive. Because in the really blunt reality is if they are not the one shooting, they are dead. So it's either they die or they don't die.
Yeah.
And because they are in the military, not much, let's say, humane thing is provided for them too.
Yeah.
They have to survive on their own. So everything is just really, really, really just very blunt.
Yeah.
You're just number. And why he did this, I saw the video that the doctor shared, because people asked him, he was a soldier, this author, how is it like there?
Yeah.
He has a conscience. He knows he is not the so-called war hero. He merely survived. He only wants to come back. So this book is actually just telling people, hey, it's not all glory. It is, you have a conscience. You need to bear with the consequences of what you did and what it actually is. And yeah, and to be honest, I feel in the corpse washer and this book, they are victims by their own circumstances, to be honest.
Right.
They
Right.
bear the consequences of things they should not have done or should done. And for these kids to join, they were young adults trying to find a sense of identity and significance and importance in their life. And they actually thought joining in service to the country, they could have some. But I think sadly it's not the case for most of them. So yeah, that's my how I look at these two books.
Okay, I would
Yeah.
like to take up on Jen's point, how soldiers are victims of circumstance. So I'm just wondering if anyone, you know,
Oh,
should, yeah.
Oh, I would like to mention, I'm okay with reading the Yellow Birds. Because I read the Corpse Washer first, and then I read the Yellow Birds because I've been watching like American films and about military and stuff like that. So for me, the Yellow Birds was like, okay, it's portrayed in the film, but I want to know in depth. But I
Right.
also want to know what is happening like in both perspectives. So these two books, it was like an introduction for me. So
Okay.
I appreciate these two books accordingly to what
So
they offer.
you kind of had some schema, you kind of had some background knowledge, previous knowledge based on the kind of scenes that you watch on the
Yes, like in
programs.
war films.
Right.
Yeah.
So reading this book, it wasn't like a complete shock.
Not
Right.
really.
Good point.
Yeah.
But I want to bring up what you said just now, the last thing that you said before this, about the soldiers who follow orders. You know, they are just victims of circumstance. I'm just wondering if anyone, Shahira, Huda, or Ali, if anyone of you in your presentation later, you will be picking up on the difference between Murph and Bartle, John Bartle. Anybody wants? Did anyone choose to do that for their presentation, or will be doing that?
No.
Not in death though. It's just I think Murph is more like compassionate. He's more affected by the killings.
So because I want to talk about that idea of victim, you know, victimhood. Yeah, that sense of I can't help it. I'm a victim of my current circumstance, so I behave this way because. But then again, you've got three different examples. You've got
Yes.
the sergeant, you've got John Bartle, you've got Murph, and the way they deal with their current circumstance. So does,
Yes.
you know, did any of you look into that?
Actually, I did consider this tree because, but I didn't really go in that because to me it's like how a person actually deals with death. Each mourns by own self.
Right.
So technically, it just comes down to how are you gonna survive in that condition? How you choose to survive. Sarge choose the most like way to be like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna just go with this. And then John is like in between, and then Murph is like his heart goes out to the victims that he have killed. So it comes to how you as an individual when you're in that circumstances how you deal with it. So it just shows that you are either this or this, or maybe you can be both, or you can be all of them, or in during certain times or during certain situation you're actually Sarge, during certain situation you're actually Murph, and another situation you're actually John. So it's just, yeah, maybe just rationalizing things so that you continue. Yep, sorry, Anjani.
But somehow I really can't accept that, not to say I can't accept, I just can't fully digest the fact that they are victim of circumstances because they are not forced to join the military. They are
Yes,
done.
they.
When
Yes.
they enlist for the military, what do they expect? Especially it's American military. For sure, they're not expecting like sunshine and everything.
Mm.
They should be aware that it's gonna involve dying, death.
Mm.
Yeah, somehow I
Yes.
just can't focus on them being the victim of circumstances, probably a little bit, but at the same time, not fully victim. They
Mm.
have the hand, they have the responsibility. They decided with their whole, they decided to join the military, which is nobody forced them to.
Mm.
And yeah, they're not forced to join the military where they must enlist or whatever. No, it's with their own full, yeah.
Okay, I don't want to piss anyone off, okay? But
You know,
I
no,
understand.
No,
no,
I
no.
think
It's just
I think it's a
it's just that we are
very
sharing
important
opinions. Yeah.
point. I
Because
think yeah.
yeah, because I the opinions I give are really merely if I put myself in their shoe. If I
Right.
was a soldier, so actually I did for my before my degree, I did a theory on adaptation, so I searched on all this. So apparently a lot of kids join the military because they do not know what they want to do. They thought they knew what war is. They thought they knew how it was. But when they see the reality of it, it's like, whoa, why did I sign up for this? Why did I do this? Oh my
Mm.
God, I want to back out. Because
Yeah.
in this book, they actually mention in chapter 1 as well that says that we thought we were significant. We thought, they thought they were doing something,
Yeah.
but eventually they are not doing anything. They are actually, like you say, they became murderers.
Mm.
Their conscience is killing them. That is why,
Back then
in a
during
sense,
war, back then
yeah.
during most of them were like forced to enlist, right? So they had no hand to decide.
Oh, no, no,
It's like if you got the calling, you must join. So I kind of understand the
in that sense,
victimization
yeah,
in that purpose. Yeah, but I'm not
yeah,
saying that
in
they're
that
not
sense only.
victims at all. Of course, no. They are partly victims in a sense that they're young boys, like 18 and 21. They don't know what to do with their life, and some of them thinks that by joining military, they have a special like seeing they'll be having this special identity of being hero, and then suddenly when they are facing the true situations, like they couldn't accept, or it's a shock to them as well.
Yeah.
Mm. I
But the
think
bottom
it's
line
more
is,
complex. It's more complex than simple, a kind of a simple statement that they should know better, or
yeah,
they are victims of circumstance. It's more complex than that. I agree with both of you actually. Yeah, you're right. They're not forced to enlist, but they are coerced into it by the enticing image of the war heroes coming back,
yeah, this is
and
come to their circumstances. Their society, they are exposed to military like often. So to them, this was a natural path for them. Like say in Malaysia, we don't really get that.
right,
Okay, thank God we are safe, but it's like this doesn't really apply to us.
right. But at the
But
same
the
time,
bottom, yeah, sorry.
at the same time, you're right. But at the same time, what Huda said was also valid at the beginning when Huda was
Yes,
talking about the propaganda of after
yes,
9/11, after September 11,
that wasn't
2001.
really good.
How the US kind of like preserved itself, its sanctity, and its preserve its borders by making the other the enemy, whatever
Yes,
those who are against us, those who are in our path, or those who are fighting against us are our enemy. If you're not with us, you are against us. Simple. So that kind of
yes,
binary mindset, very, very strong, black, white, the axis of evil, those kinds of political statements did not help the matter at all, right?
yeah.
And the people started to feel the need that they needed to be part of something that they can kind of hang on to, even if it's very, very intangible. And when you are given a description of an enemy that you don't know, that you've never seen, that you have never met face to face, except for what you see, like what Jennifer was saying, what you see on TV, in popular fiction, or in documentaries, or even in news, that's the enemy that you kind of like identify and say, okay, those are the bad guys, right?
Yes. It's
So
you know, war is deception and ignorance.
Yes,
That's
the
why
bottom line is
Bartel,
not good at all.
yes, and Bartel was the painting that is said in one of his, you know, one of his this analogy with himself. He said, "This war is not like my grandfather war. It is not noble." He thought that it will be nobility and fraternity between, you know, soldiers. They are like brothers. They will support each other, but they discover that it is only keep them isolated, one apart from each other. So
Yes,
I said it's
and
propaganda, and because of the politician, because of the policies, but it is not. They are just deceived and ignorant and very innocent little men. They just want to man up. That's it. They just
and
want to serve their country. Sorry.
adding to Huda's point from that same chapter, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't know that they've been to this place the third time. They thought they were there the first time. So
Yes.
it was like deceiving, like, hey, what? We are here 3 times? I thought, you know, we are doing something for our country, but we are here again?
Yes.
Like that.
it's like they're going around in circles and they're not getting anywhere.
Yeah,
Right?
so what's the point of all this?
Yeah. And I
They
want to draw.
take the land at the day, and they lose it at the night, and it is kind of you know, rat and cat game. That's it.
Yep.
I
They
want to
have
draw attention to
they have
what Jennifer said just now about the difference, or the kind of a difference between Sergeant Sterling, Murph, and John Bartel. And some of the things that you mentioned, I mean, I wish I could draw it here on the whiteboard, but I can't access it. It's okay. So if you can have a piece of paper and you could draw me 2 circles, one on the top and another one below that, and draw a line to connect the top and the bottom. Can you all do that? So draw 2 circles. One circle is above the other. It's like, I got it here. So you've got one circle, draw a line that comes down from the bottom, from the circle to another one below that.
all right.
So it's almost like the top circle is if you could think about it, the top circle is like the head, you know, very rationalized, looking at things from very rationalized perspective, you know. And then the bottom circle is the heart, very emotionally driven, you know, feels and falls, has pain, experiences joy and sorrow and all the rest of it. Then that line in between is the connection between the head and the heart. So if you like, Sterling is very much head based. He's very much here in the head and the way he functions. He does not allow for emotional attachment at all. Not with each other, not with the environment, not with anything. So he's almost like he cuts off. Right?
All right.
Whereas with Murphy, he's the complete opposite. He
The
feels
heart.
too much. He
Yes.
feels what's going on, and to the extent that he starts to kind of hurt himself towards the end. Physically hurts himself because he wants to feel something. You know, you cannot numb yourself by being oblivious to what's going on. But at the same time, when you are exposing yourself so much to what's going on, you lose your mind. That's literally what happens to Murph. right? He loses
he
his mind. He basically he loses his mind, right?
Yes.
Then you've
Yes.
got somebody like John Bartle who's caught between the two. I'm observing
Yes.
what's going on. I'm looking at Sarge and the way he's dealing with it, and I don't like what he's doing. And I'm looking at Murph and the way he's dealing with it, and I don't like what he's doing. And I'm caught between
Yes.
the two. So you've
Yeah.
got, it's almost like in the triangulation of these three characters, you have,
Survivor.
yeah, you have the story of survival. You have the story of this is what's going on. Does it make it all right? No.
No,
Does it make it
definitely
right?
not.
No. So I agree with Jen. You know, we're not justifying, but we are doing what we do, which is we are literary critiques. We're reading the text, we're dissecting what's in the story, and we're seeing the patterns that's emerging. That's all we're doing. We're not saying the policy is wrong, you know, this shouldn't have happened, they shouldn't have come here. No, we're not doing all that. We're not political scientists. This is not our ball game. Okay. But I just want to draw your attention to that aspect. And it's almost like the writer is trying to come to terms with it. He doesn't answer his questions. He doesn't say, this is my answer. So at the end of the story, the moral of the story is, no, he doesn't come out with that kind of a statement, if you like. But he does help us see that. And that's the big picture that I want us to kind of like always keep in mind. Whatever it is that you're focusing on, the small circle, the inner circle is what I'm attracted to when I'm reading this text. Then the bigger circle around that is, why is this so? What is the purpose of this? How is this connected to the story? What do you think the writer is trying to do with this part of the story? Do you understand? So you keep asking and probing those kinds of questions. You will be able to see something more in the story that you're reading than just the close textual reading. Is that all right?
All right.
All right,
Yes,
doctor.
doctor.
Ranjini, okay?
Yes, doctor. Good.
Shahira?
Yes.
I just need to kind of like keep tab that you all are following and you know, you haven't drifted into the oblivion. Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Ranjini and Jen. Very good start to our discussion. Ali, we would like to hear from you.
Yes, doctor, I'm ready.
Okay.
Actually, doctor, I'm interested to talk about battle and exactly at chapter 7 and how he feels about the battle that he was in with his friend Murphy.
Chapter 7.
Yes, doctor. Exactly at the beginning of page 86, when he say, "I feel like I am being eaten from the inside. I feel like I am being eaten from the inside out, and I cannot tell anyone what is going on because everyone is so grateful to me all the time, and I will feel like I am ungrateful or something." From this, doctor, I see that Bartol shows that it would be impossible for him to tell his friends that he feels destroyed on the inside, and that he cannot stand to tell people this because everyone is always congratulating him, because from inside he feels that he don't deserve what the other call him or say for him, congratulate him for you. Because as I said, that he feels that he did something wrong with the others.
Right.
And then he also say, or should I have said that I wanted to die? This is also from the same page at the same chapter also. Bartel cannot say that he wants to die because he has killed people, sometimes shooting them more times than necessary. These actions which he knows are wrong and he will never find a solution for. These actions are eating away at him, even though his mother his mother is proud of him. Then at the same time, I see that there is a gap between the noble goal civilians ascribed to war and the selfish reality he has witnessed as a soldier. And that Victor also keeps him from sharing his experience with others. At the same statement that he say that I feel like I am being eaten from the inside and cannot tell anyone about that. So everyone want to grade him, everyone want to congratulate him, but he cannot feel that he is doing well with himself. Bartel does not want his war actions to be celebrated, since he feels that nothing he did was inherently generous or noble. He wants people to recognize that war is more painful than virtuous. Also, Doctor, there is something that attracts me at chapter 1.
Chapter 1?
Yes, also at chapter 1, exactly at page 11, when Bartel initially believes that war might bring companionship, he soon realizes that the inherent selfishness of war leads to various degrees of solitude and alienation, with potentially fatal consequences. Bartel reflects on the gap between his expectation and the reality he has come to accept.
Yeah.
As he said, I had been trained to think war was a great unifier, that it brought people closer together than any other activity on earth. And this is, as he sees that this is Polish. War is the great maker of solipsistus. How you are going to save my life today. The self-interest nature of fighting thus keeps soldiers from becoming a unified group and condemns them to fear and isolation. And this is what I get, Doctor, from Mr. John Bartel, and how he was feel the inner conflict inside himself, and that he feels that he gets something that he don't deserve. This is what I want to mention for Doctor.
Thank you very much. It's very well said, Ali,
Yes.
especially given the things that you shared with us last week about your
Yes.
experiences being in Iraq yourself, you know.
Yes.
I like the powerful statement that you just said, which is he can never find absolution for
Yes.
his actions. He feels destroyed.
Yes.
He's
He feels destroyed from inside, but he cannot show the others people that he was in this matter exactly.
So he cannot join the celebratory
Yes.
atmosphere that the people around him seem to react to him, seem to respond every time they see him. He can't, you know, it's like when you have a celebration, when everyone around you is happy and everything.
Yes.
Maybe it's a
Yes.
wedding, maybe it's a birthday, maybe it's some Eid or whatever, you know, or Christmas or Chinese.
This is exactly what I want to mention for Doctor.
You want to celebrate, right? You want to celebrate with
yes.
everyone. But in his case, everybody is celebrating when he is there because they are celebrating him. But he cannot reciprocate.
Yes.
But I like that statement that, and he can never find absolutions. Like, what does he need to do? Like, if you've done something wrong, right? You know, maybe you hurt someone's feelings. So if you,
that he feels sins from inside. He feels that he's doing something mistake.
Right, but yourself, all of you, if you reflect on your own action, because no one is perfect. We are all flawed.
Yes, yes.
Right? We are constantly learning how to be better human beings every single day of our life.
Yes.
No matter how old you are.
No one from us is perfect.
Sorry?
No one is perfect.
No one's perfect, and no one's expected to be perfect, right?
Yes.
So we're constantly learning to be better. better at whatever it is that you do, better in your career, better in your relationships, better in your faith, better. You know, you're always reaching towards the Arabic word ihsan, right? Towards perfection, but excellence, sorry, not perfection, towards excellence, but you're not there. You're moving in that direction. And that's nothing wrong with that. But when we make mistakes, when we blunder, what are some of the things that we do? Can I just go through the list, all of you? What are some of the things that you do when you make a mistake?
Doctor, I will answer you first.
Please.
Everyone, his behavior will be changed from the others. As you mentioned for 1 minute, that his behavior when he go for somewhere, he cannot behave just like the others. Even though the others grade him and congratulate him for doing something, but he from inside never feel relaxed, never feel celebrated just like the others, because he have already making mistake.
Yeah, no, I'm asking us to just reflect for a second. What are some of the things that you do when you have done something wrong, either to someone, or usually it's to someone, right? What are some of the things that you do? Can I just hear you call out some of the things that you all do when you've done something wrong?
If I wrong someone,
Yeah, who's this?
Ranjini.
Ranjini, yes.
I wrong someone and I realize it. If I can talk to them, I probably just discuss with them.
But imagine you're like really embarrassed to own up. You know, you've done something, you know you shouldn't have done it. You did it in the spur of the moment. Maybe you said some things in the spur of the moment because you were triggered. You know, you're a bit embarrassed to own up. So what do you do?
If I'm too embarrassed, probably I just pray and then hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah, so you reach out to your faith to give you some kind of strength to kind of, you know, go through that, right? So that will be your first point of solace, if you like.
And
Right.
peace with herself.
Anyone else? Like
Just
this is,
one,
I'm not talking about spilling coffee, you know, that kind of a thing. You know, I'm talking about something severe that embarrasses you, that you can't bring yourself to see that person. You can't bring yourself to be face to face with that person, and it's just too difficult and too challenging for you to own up that you've done this, you know, and yeah, so Ranjini shared with us her approach. What else do you all do?
I think all of us need peace, and we have to connect with God. Just we know that there is a protector, and he sees and hears everything.
Yeah, but you have wronged someone. So you've wronged someone. Not if somebody has wronged you, then you're kind of like the ball is in their court to feel guilty or shame or whatever. But now you've done that blunder, right? You know better, but at the moment you kind of you did not react in a very rational manner. Maybe you were triggered, whatever. You know, I'm giving you like a worst case scenario. I hope it's a worst case scenario. I hope no one has experienced this. I don't know. You know, so, but I want us to kind of like unpack that, and then see how John Bartle is dealing with this. And do we understand where he's coming from when he's dealing with it? So, you know,
he could involve in, you know, charity and NGOs, for example, pray to God for forgiveness. But
so find ways to serve. That's
yes,
what you're saying.
and
Find
yes,
ways
and
to serve.
yes, and by connecting with God, he will feel this peace in his side.
So kind of create a relationship with something higher than you, something, you know, a higher power than you, or with an organization that serves the larger humanity. So it's not just about focusing on the I, the individual, and how distraught I feel based on the actions that I've done. Go and do something with your life so that your life becomes more purposeful, that you are able to contribute. Maybe these are some strategies right?
I will be useful for others. I will be,
Use.
you know, make it up for others, compensated what I have done. So
Right.
what
Right.
else? Just eating myself and get away from my mother, my all those who love me. No, that's
Yeah.
not.
So dealing with that trauma of your actions, of your own doing, dealing with the trauma of your own choices, you know, it's not like you've been abused. That's a different kind of trauma, right?
Yes.
So when you have committed this kind of an act, and imagine committing it regularly for a period of 2 years or so, right? You go
Yes.
through a kind of a trauma in the sense that, oh my God, who am I? What have I become?
Yes.
You know, this is not who I am. And that's why what Ali was saying, this being destroyed from within, this feeling of being destroyed from within. And, you know, in your case, hopefully whatever it is that you've done wrong and you kind of like do all these kinds of acts, either through your spiritual and religious kind of you know, process, or a communal, community-driven process of serving, or a bit of both, you know, you might feel that you are doing more than what, you know, you're counterbalancing between the action and now the person that you are in the current actions. And you're trying to kind of creating absolution for yourself. The real trauma is not so much, at least my take on it, the real trauma is not what I saw there and all the things that I've done, but the real trauma could be the alienation that you feel with yourself.
Yes.
You know, that you are not who you thought you were. You know, all of us, like we just started saying, you know, we are all not perfect. We make mistakes. We know that. But when we do make mistakes, we're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? You know, I should have known better. But we realize we are not perfect. We realize that. But at that moment, we just can't seem to stomach the fact that we've made a mistake. Not unlike John Bartle, in a sense that he has done the mistake. But how does he live with himself? How does he live with himself? You know, especially when everywhere he goes, people want to celebrate him. People want to celebrate the courage it took him to go to this foreign place and do this thing for the rest of them.
Yes.
Right? It took courage for a young man, albeit it's not courage, it's foolhardy, because he didn't know any better. Right? If he knew better, he wouldn't have joined, right? But he didn't know any better. And now that he knows better, he can't live with himself. That's the real tragedy, if you like.
Yes.
Right? That alienation from yourself. Like we do mistake, we try to repent, we try to kind of reach a sense of absolution. Perhaps over time it gets better and we can live with ourselves better. But in his case, he can't. That's the real tragedy of his life.
Yes.
At the end, when they mentioned that when he kind of describes seeing Murph's body like dissolving, and then it kind of gives a sense that he's at peace with it, or it's just my perception, is it? I don't know. I feel like he went to the prison, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end, I feel like at the description that he's able to find peace with himself. That was my reading. So
you know why? Because in the end, he's not seen as a war hero. He did not want that title for himself.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
That's
he went to the
it's
prison,
like
right?
you take it back. You know, it's like I cheated. You know, I didn't really do it right. I cheated. Now you've taken the title away from me. It's like, okay, fine. I'm better for it, because I don't want to be known as a war hero. And in America, war heroes are like revered throughout their lifetime. Right? They are constantly being celebrated for throughout their life until they die. They even afterwards, in memory of them, they will constantly be remembered as the war hero that they were, the courage that it took for them to do all that, because they revere their war veterans, extensively.
Yeah. And I think because he served in the prison, so in a way to him it's like, okay, I have done it. I serve what I like compensate like what I've did, what
Yeah,
I've done to Merv.
and I'm not seen as the courageous soldier that people think I am. I want that.
Yeah.
I want people to know that, to acknowledge that. Yeah. So,
He
okay.
found peace in the end.
Yeah, but he knows he wants people to know that. Not just he knows that, but he wants people to know that so that he can move forward. Right?
Yes.
But whether or not it's a complete closure for him, we will never know, Okay, brilliant. Ali, thank you so much. Shahira.
Thank you, Farid.
Hi, okay. I when I read it, I actually focus on the theme of death because it's a war. But like I said before, I noticed how different the treatments towards humans' lives compared with the corpse washer. Like in the Yellowbirds, they don't really care, and I actually hate it how the death are just reduced to numbers, to statistics, and I wrote down like how John Bartle dealt with death of different people differently. You can see how he dealt with the death of Malik the translator.
Yes.
They didn't really care about it. When Malik actually, probably Malik just worked with them for survival, because they were no works in the middle of the war. But how they treated him after that, I just felt it's inhuman. But John, like what happened to Bartle when Murph died, it triggered something in Bartle because they were saying how they didn't want to be, another statistics, another number of death. So and then with because Bartle made the promise to Murph's mother to look after him. So when before he was inhuman and reckless and whatnot, but when Murph died, it triggered something in him. Probably, I don't know, maybe he felt guilty for breaking the promise, or but it just affected him so bad. And then with the fake letter, and then the Marines trying to um blame him for the death, and then he went to prison. So uh, I don't know, I think it's kind of complicated, maybe.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? That's the whole point, I think. It's not a straightforward experience of you go there, you fight for your country. Earlier somebody mentioned about how I think was it Ali or Jennifer who read that bit about how during the times of his father, war was seen in different light, and now war is its face is completely different. It's not something that is it's not a noble. I think
Yes, Dr. Me.
Ali said this. There's no
Yes.
nobility. There's no sense of
Yes.
nobility
Yes.
in this fight, because you're not fighting for something something that is clear and obvious and understandable.
Like his grandfather did.
Yeah, he's that right.
But it's actually for the wars, like America going to war with other nations, it's actually just similar. It's just the same incidents being repeated. Like I read about massacre by US military. So because Bartle's talk about Bartle's grandfather, right? So I'm just assuming it's the American Vietnam War.
Yep.
So they were I think it's Mei Lin Day or something, but it's a place in Vietnam, and the American soldiers basically massacre the whole village. And the same thing happened in Iraq, in Afghanistan. So it's just, it's being repeated. And I think like the young men who enlisted to become the soldiers, it's rose-tinted glasses because history is written by the winner. So they learn it in America. It's like, oh, they're the saviors and whatnot. And when they're trusted into Iraq, when they're trusted into Afghanistan, it's like, oh, you know what? Okay, this isn't what we learn in school, and it's the real world. And like some people, it's a semi-memoir, so I'm assuming that Kevin Powers, when he went to Iraq, he experienced some of these things himself, and he realized that it isn't what the government made them to be. Like he had that consciousness, like, but I know some of them from my reading, they never had that consciousness. They're still with the white superior kind of thing. So like, I guess in the Yellowbirds by Kevin Powers, he had that regret.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning he didn't really care, right? And he wasn't really being warm to Murph. I think like in Iraq he sort of like discovered that, like, but it was after Murph's death. Cannot say the same thing to their leader though, Sterling. Like, what even is that character? I feel like he was cruel all around.
Right. But don't you think that's his survival strategy?
Yes.
Because what's the flip side? The flip side is either Murph or Bartel. You either become one of them, or this is how I deal with it, basically. And he's gone in a few times. This is not his. This is not his first posting, right? I like what you said. Yeah, very much. Very much. But then you are a soldier. You cannot say no. That's you receive your orders, you carry out your orders, and that's it. Or else you will be dishonorably discharged. You will not be discharged in an honorable manner. You can't just say, you know what, I've had enough. I'm leaving now. You can't, because that's part of the training. That's part of wearing the uniform.
And your contract as well, right? They cannot just simply break it.
Right. So in a sense, that's the discipline it takes to be in a soldier. Because my dad was in the army for 21 years when I was growing up. So it's not something. So my mom would say he doesn't share half the things that he does. And my dad was a drill sergeant. So my mom would say to my dad, when he goes to work, my mom would tell my dad, like, be nice, don't be too cruel. And my dad, because it comes with the territory. This is who he's supposed to be. He's not supposed to go there and mollycoddle them and say, it's okay, it's a bit hot today, but we'll go into our routine. No, you can't do that. There's shouting, there's calling names, there's putting them down, just to kind of make them feel that they can go through all these things. That's part of the training. So I can imagine that. This is something that you said, Shahira. History is written by the winners. Unfortunately, this story doesn't sound as if it's written by a winner, does it?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, the tone is, well, how would you describe the tone of this entire story?
I would say like some part of it is like melancholic.
Okay.
Because he's like reminiscing, but maybe it sounded more like somebody who lost.
Yeah.
But like Ranjini said, at the end, it's like he found peace when he served time in prison. So like at the end, there's like an uplifting note, I guess, in his writing.
Only after he's punished.
Yeah, only after he's punished. Because
so if you're a winner, you come out tops. You are celebrated. Somebody gives you an award. You have your pictures taken, your names published all over. You get interviews. You get But the flip, that's not what happened. This is the opposite that happens. He's punished, and that's when he finds peace. So out of the whole experience, what's your takeaway from this novel? What is it that you got from this novel? if history is written by winners, finish that statement. What does the yellow bird say to you? I mean, think about it. I'm not going to put you in the spot, but I like that statement. What you said, history is written by winners. True, but this novel was written, and it was not written by a winner because he gets punished in the end. You know, so I need you to kind of, I need all of you to kind of think about that. That, you know, he's capturing an aspect of war narrative that we need to take into consideration. That's all I'm going to suggest. Okay. Anything else, Shahira?
No, I think that's it.
Thank you. It was really, really good. Finally, Huda.
All right.
We always leave Huda for the last because, you know, she usually comes up with things that kind of captures the entire discussion. So
Thank you.
The last.
The reality with Huda.
The best.
yeah, that
Thank
comes
you.
with experience, people, you know.
Yeah.
First of all, Doctor, when I read the story, Kevin, he doesn't present an American soldier as a hero who saved the Iraqi people from this tyrant. No, he just, you know, as I told you, just young man with little experience and with morals, and they have this belief because of the propaganda and because of politicians that they are serving their country. They want to man up. They want to do something. They have their grandfathers and, you know, as the heroes, as the ideal of for them. My colleague, they have done a very good job. Each one of them, they discuss something that is very important. As for me, Doctor, there is something symbolic thing. It's the yellow ribbon, you know. The yellow ribbon, it's a symbol of solidarity in combat. In chapter 5, when Bartel was in Germany, airport Germany, and the bartender, when he went there to drink some, you know, some drink beer or something like that, he said it will be. He refuses to take, you know, the money from him.
Yeah.
But Bartel insists to pay it, to
Yeah.
pay. You know,
He didn't want a free drink. He didn't want a free drink.
Yes. Yes.
He said he wasn't proud of what he did there. So this will conclude and summarize all his misery, his suffering, all what he has done there in Iraq. He said, I don't deserve anyone's gratitude. And really, they should hate me for what I have done. So I think this is a conclusion of all things, because he was struggling. You know, Sterling is the head and Merv was the heart. He is in between and he survived, but he feel that he cannot integrate with his you know, a previous life. He just blaming himself, and I think all of this, what happened to him, is because the ignorance.
Yeah.
Even the bartender, he said to him, have you annihilated all those sand niggers? What sand niggers? We are not even black. And sand niggers. So you can see, Doctor, there is ignorance in everything.
Read the next couple of lines, Huda, because I'm seeing the same page. Read the next couple of lines.
Which one, Doctor?
Whole place is full of savages, is what I hear.
But I didn't write it down, all of them. Sorry.
No, what I'm saying is you're right, because the stereotypes about the Middle East is very much is very much based on hear and say, based on what people hear, based on
Yes,
what
that
people
it is,
share
yeah.
with each other, not first-hand experience. And John Barthel's reaction to him is, I looked up at him, he was smiling at me. Yeah, man, something like that. It's like, what can I say to that? How am I going to explain to him all the things that I saw firsthand?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
He
Okay,
said
cool.
Iraq filled with savages.
Yeah.
And sound niggers.
Mm.
As you see, annihilated them. All of this ignorance and propaganda against people, peaceful people. They have bear so much from their, that tyrant. And they Iraqi people try to what we call they try to make a revolution against Saddam Hussein several times, but the American told him there is a revolution and there is something, a conspiracy against you. Then they come just like that and took him away.
Okay, well, we don't want to go into the backstory of this story. I want us to kind of like focus on the text, on what's available. So I agree with you at the beginning that there is a lack of hero in this narration. I love that idea that there isn't a hero. You know, every story should have a hero, and
that's why it's very honest. It is the narration was very honest and reality. Just like Sinan, when he when he explained everything in this fine details. Just like Kevin, there's a similarity between them. Both of them are honest in this particular events and particular what we call it, particular war. All right. And moreover, I think that Bartle was a seeker for salvation, for redemption and forgiveness. That's why, as Rajini said, and I think Jennifer said, when he was in prison, when he was imprisoned, he just feel this balance, peaceful balance in his inside. And there is, as a Muslim, there is a verse in Quran, if you are interested, if you want to hear it, Doctor.
Go ahead.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا رأيتهم تعجبك أجسامهم وإن يقولوا تسمع لقولهم كأنهم خشب مسندة يحسبون كل صيحة عليهم هم العدو فاحذرهم قاتلهم الله أنى يؤفكون. صدق الله العظيم. It is said, O Muhammad, you like their bodies and you admire their images and you listen to them when they talk, but they are just wood and woods. They are no logic. They are just shadow, ghost, lack of certainty. Every shot, they thought that every shot is against them. This is the enemy.
Right.
This is
so
the first.
How is that helping the reading of this text? Is that a context for the way this text is presenting, or the Iraqi? Is there some connection to the story?
No, Doctor. I mean, it is explain what those soldiers, young, deceptive soldier feel. Right. They fear everything, and we experience their brutality, and every shot they thought that they have to shoot. Every moving thing they have to shoot. So that's why I said this is the verse in Quran. It's reflect their images and what they and their action, their actions.
Sure.
Okay.
Anything else about this novel?
Sorry.
Is there anything else that you want to say about this novel? Because I've got a question for you and Ali. So once you're done, I have a question for both of you. Is there anything else you want to say about this novel?
No, Doctor. I think my colleagues have done a very good job and you as well. Thank you.
My question to both of you is, as an Iraqi, as someone who has seen firsthand what's happening in your homeland, based on your heartfelt sharing last week, both of you, and we all really appreciated that kind of firsthand experience that you brought into the discussion. How do you feel reading this story of this soldier and the tragedy that the tragedy that was his life? You know, that he did this, he enlisted, he went to the place, and even Huda, you told me that the name of the place is slightly wrong. I remember you messaged me.
Yes, Talafar. It is not Altafar.
Yes.
Right.
It is Talafar. Yes, and
Yeah.
even the
Wrong name.
Muazzin, the cry for our prayer.
Prayer.
He said this song. He said
Yeah.
this song.
Yeah. So it's like very careless. Not that he doesn't know what he's doing, but that's the carelessness with which he remembers the place and the experience, you know. But at the same time, he's traumatized to the extent that he cannot live his life when he goes back, right? How do you
Yes.
feel reading this soldier's story? Both Ali and Huda. I would really like to know. It's like, you know, because you both Ali and Huda, your reading of this book, you had manners, you had grace, it's almost like you had sympathy for the narrator of this story. You know, Huda, you used the word honest. You know, it
Yes.
wasn't like you could easily marginalize the narrator and say, you know, you could say various things to put him down. Is that you should have known better, you know, all that. But both of you, your reading of the story shows a kind of compassion that you felt in a different way. You're compassionate towards the narrator because you understand, but at the same time you don't really accept it, that it's wrong to what they have done. But at the same time, you felt a sense of compassion. Would that be right, both of you?
Yeah, do you know, Dr. Why? Because we are already, me and Huda, live all the events, if not most of them. So we feel passionate about every word we read about all these stories or all these novels.
Even if it's told from the soldier's point of view.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? It's still, you still try to understand their point of view?
About the soldiers, you mean Bartel and Marv and the others?
Yeah. Are you not angry with them? Do you not dislike them or hate them?
For me, Doctor, some attitude I will be with Martel and Marv because as they are as soldiers, they have to do what they should to do. Yep. Why they are here? Because they are soldiers and they have to do what they sent for.
Sure.
Okay, but when they are practice their job in Iraq, they don't do well. And as Bartol mentioned in several lines, that he shoot anyone, shoot anything moving, any moving thing that he met in the street. And as I mentioned for that last week, and I think that Geneva or don't remember exactly which one asked me, is that right? Is it true that the American soldiers shoot anyone? This is true, and this is what I see, and this is what we live and months during our lives at that time exactly. So we feel some passion about some events when we read, just not the others just want to analysis or just to read or understand some lines, but the true that we feel some passion about this line because we already lived that events.
Huda, how like, yeah, I'm curious. I'm really curious. Like, how do you feel? I didn't mean to put you all in a spot by choosing this text. Of course, when I chose this text, I didn't know I was getting Iraqi students to begin with, you know, so it wasn't done in a calculated manner. So how do you feel reading this soldier's story? How do you feel?
Doctor, in war there is no winner or loser. Believe me,
Of course.
no winner, no loser. And war fed on our fear and on our anger and our desire to survive. They are young men, deceptive, and they were just like to man up. That's it. They just want to make something. They make their life is useful. They have this nobility. They have this noble potentials and expectation. But life is not fair, doctor. Life is not fair because all those politicians, they are just a traitor and the clowns. That's it. That's it. So I just pity them as I mourn my people. I mourn my people.
And I
Because
think
I lost so much.
You know, I think that's the healthier way of looking at it, because you don't want to have hate towards anyone, because that will consume you, as Ali said just now about Barthel, that, you know, he's being destroyed from within. You know, if you remember William Blake's Poison Tree, the poem, how the whatever hatred or that you feel, or anger that you feel towards someone, the one that is consumed is yourself. You are the one who is being destroyed by that negative emotion or experience.
Yes.
I'll put that poem up on our UKM folio if you want to have a look at that. All right, so we'll sum up. We'll sum up this discussion. It's been a very heavy topic, but I think all of you have kind of brought in a different dimension of what you took or what you got from this book. You know, definitely it's no romance. You know, I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, it's
Sorry, Rajini.
it's tragedy on so many levels, right? That there's just this, you know, elements of tragedy on so many
I
levels.
think Dr. Me and Fuda very interested and more interested than the others about the novels.
No, but I think your take of the novel, both of you and Huda, your take on the novel has a more personal touch, largely because it is set within your context. I think that's the beauty when you choose stories that is set within your context. You are able to kind of understand the nuances better. You are able to make certain statements that will enrich your discussion. So that's a clue for all of us. When we choose text, choose wisely. Choose text that speaks to you. Yes. Choose text that allows you to make important observations that others might not be able to see, because you are able to read between the lines and say the unspoken as well as what is stated. You know, that's very important. Yes. So you know, I mean, I think you all should really listen back to this conversation once I make it available on UKM Folio. So I'm going to just say thank you for this sharing session, and you know, please you know, come back and listen to it for your own sakes. So I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.